Hi, Mike. My name is Shauna. I'm a medical student at the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health. Thank you for meeting with me today.
Of course.
Can you just start off by telling me about yourself, kind of where you're from, what you like to do?
Yeah, of course. I'm from Janesville, Wisconsin. Lived here pretty much all my life. Went to Craig High School. You want me to start at the beginning and kind of tell my story, or what do you?
Yeah. If you'd like to just start off by kind of like what life was like for you before you started on your recovery journey.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I started off pretty young in high school. I got mixed up probably with some people I shouldn't have. So before I graduated high school, I was taking pills and stuff like that. By the time I graduated high school, I think I was already using heroin. I was snorting heroin. And then time goes on and I start messing with stimulants and stuff like that. And I end up meeting a girl along the way. She was already on drugs. I was on drugs. So we already had something in common. I was a heroin addict I was snorting heroin for like 3 years, and I was using IV heroin for 2 years. Um, yeah, so I guess me and my girlfriend, we were both addicted to drugs. We tried getting sober a bunch of different times, and we could never figure it out. We never knew how to do it. We never thought that there was any help. We had talked about it, and we had both decided that we had given up hope. We kind of just had figured out we are screwed over. We're going to die heroin addicts, or we're going to be like a 50-year-old heroin addict running around Janesville. Then she ended up getting an abscess in her arm. She went to the hospital. She almost lost her arm. She had a scar, probably a 12-inch scar on her left arm. Yeah, we both were kind of in and out of the hospital all the time, because you put stuff off and don't go get it checked out. I ended up getting taken to the hospital because my hands and my feet started swelling up, and I would put off the doctor as long as possible because, you just don't want to deal with it. But my hands and feet started swelling up. So my recovery coach, Mike Sheridan, took me and my girlfriend to the hospital in Madison. He was actually going to check us into Rogers or something like that.
Okay.
And on the way up there, he asked me to call and make sure that everything was set. So I made the call and just was putting on a show for Mike, basically talking to this woman. And then I hung up the phone and was like, yeah, they don't have any beds available right now, just because I wanted to use drugs. I did not want to go to rehab. So I was just trying to get out of it. So then when Mike knew that he couldn't take us there, he was like, well, you're pretty sick. Let's take you to the hospital. So we just went to the closest hospital. And they did some tests on me and Taylor both. And then when it came time for Mike to leave, I threw a fit and I was like, no, you're not leaving me in Madison. You are not taking off. I was like, I'm leaving. So I just got my shit. My girlfriend got her shit, and we just walked out with Mike. I knew he was very upset about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But he took us back to Janesville. I know Mike would never leave me stranded or anything like that. He always let me and Taylor make the decision. He always told us what the right thing was, but he always let us make the decision. So then me and my girlfriend get back to Janesville and continue using drugs. And I guess the hospital had gotten my test results back and found out I had I think it was a couple different blood diseases and then endocarditis.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And I didn't think it was too bad, but I guess the cops told the doctor called the Janesville Police Department and told them that there is a 21-year-old male who just left the hospital, and they told me it was very urgent, that for my safety I need to get into the hospital. And I didn't want to, so then I'm hanging out at a buddy's house. I'm sleeping at a buddy's house, and I noticed my dad, my brother, and my recovery coach are standing outside the window. So I go outside, and they take me to the hospital, and my girlfriend to the hospital, and they tell me exactly what's wrong with me and everything. And the doctors in the hospital are just looking at me as if I'm a drug addict and nothing else, Doesn't matter what I'm asking for, I'm trying to do it because I want drugs. That upset me, I'm an addict, just asking for help, telling them I don't want to use drugs anymore. This is the help. This is what would help me. And it was an older gentleman, so I could tell I don't think he was as educated as the doctors now. Any type of comfort med or any type of medication to help with the withdrawals until I was 3 months through rehab. And I'm an addict, so I know that if I'm 3 months through rehab, I don't need any of this medication. My mind, this guy's an idiot. This guy isn't gonna do anything to help me because he's just talking nonsense in my eyes.
Right.
So I tell him that he can help me out with some comfort meds, some Suboxone, some methadone, some gabapentin, or some clonidine, just something that will keep me in the room, not freaking out. I told him, help me out with something or I can go help myself. And I knew that wasn't the right thing to say. I'm a hard-headed 21-year-old at this point. I know that's not the right thing to say. What this doctor says to me, something to the degree of, if you really want to go use, then go and use. And I'm 21-year-old, that's all I need to hear. I'm looking for that answer.
Right.
My main doctor walks in and tells me that. I'm like, check me out, sign me out right now, and that's what I did. I signed myself out, and my family got in the middle of it. It was a huge showdown in the St. Mary's up the road. My family was arguing with my girlfriend. I'm arguing with my family. Mike Sheridan was there. Me and my girlfriend ended up leaving. I'm bawling the whole way out, because I know how bad it is hurting my family.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't care. At the same time, I'm bawling, I'm hysterical, but at the same time, I'm hopping in my buddy's car on the way to Beloit to get drugs, so I can be upset about all I want, but I know at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I want, Then I was back out there for another for a while. They gave me a bottle of pills before I left and told me that I need IV drugs to fix this problem. They said that these pills aren't going to fix the problem. These pills will help. They said it's a small chance that the pills will solve this problem. Told me that they would help. Just told me it wasn't for sure thing at all. So I take the pills, and I'm living on the street at this time. So what I'm carrying on my back is all I have. And somebody comes up to me and they are shaking me down for what's in my pockets. I think I had ripped them off at another point throughout my drug addiction. So that caught up with me. This person ran up on me and they was running through my pockets because I had ripped them off for hundreds of dollars before. So I was, I knew I had fucked. I was willing. I was emptying out my pockets. I wasn't going to screw them over, not let them run my pockets. So that's what I'm doing. letting him, and he finds this bottle of pills amongst a bunch of other stuff. And I don't know if he thought it was something, but he put it in his pocket, took my bottle of pills that has no value on the street whatsoever. This is some antibiotic, isn't going to help anybody if they wanted it to. So then I only got to take like half of that prescription, and the doctors made it very clear that I needed to take that whole prescription, but I lost it. And I'm more concerned with getting money every day and drugs every day that I don't even call the doctor and tell them. I was scheduled to talk to the infectious disease. I'm in a meeting right now. Please. I'm in a meeting, please. I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Sorry, where was I?
You had just you got your antibiotics were taken.
Yes, so I got the prescription. I was supposed to have another meeting with the infectious disease doctor, and I did not ever go back to that because I was just out there. But then the swelling in my hands and feet went away. I started to feel a little better. So I thought it was solved. So I continue just living out there on the street, me and my girlfriend. And time goes on. I end up getting more sick, and I have no idea what it's related to because a bunch of symptoms are coming by themselves. Like all of a sudden, my back really started to hurt. I've never had back problems too much, but my back started to hurt so bad on the inside of my back. I just couldn't describe it. I was walking around trying to crack my back for a couple of days. And then I started to not be able to breathe real good. I just could not breathe anytime. Sitting up like this, I'd be able to maintain my breath, but as soon as my body would go just like this is standing up, as soon as it would get below this point to laying down, I would just start hyperventilating and not being able to breathe. And I remember a couple of times I was so tired because I couldn't lay down and go to sleep that I would slowly lean back. And I did that, and I'm sitting there trying to just go to sleep, and I couldn't breathe so much that I passed out. And I woke up a while later. Obviously my breathing had slowed down and I was maintaining my breath, but it was just so scary to me. I woke up and couldn't breathe right then. So I sat up again, and I kind of knew something was wrong. And me and my girlfriend are both in addiction, so our relationship is not what it should be. We are fighting all the time. We're fighting over drugs. We both know that we love each other. We're just, we're both always agitated, always looking to get our next fix. So we're not being most patient with each other. So then I'm getting real sick. I'm not really doing too much, just laying around the place I was staying at that time. And me and my girlfriend ended up getting in a fight, and she leaves to go hang out with some girlfriends. And it was a big fight. I didn't see her for 3 days. And on that third day, I had called my dad and was like, hey, I do not feel good right now. I think I need to go to the hospital. And my family had not heard from me since pretty much the first time I left the hospital.
Okay.
I was in the hospital October 17th the first time, and 1 year later, I was in the hospital on October 17th. So it was almost a year to the exact day. I'm sorry, I forgot where I was.
You were reaching out to your family. I think you're about to go to the hospital again.
Yeah, so I told my dad I had to go to the hospital, and he hadn't heard from me in 1 year, pretty much. So he comes and picks me up, takes me to the hospital, and I think at that point, yeah, they told me what was wrong, and they wanted to take me up to Madison. They put a PICC line in my neck, and they gave me some medication so that I was more all right with them putting this PICC line in my neck.
Right.
So I take the medication, they put the PICC line in, and then I just wake up days later. I didn't know what happened. I just woken up days later and I'm in Madison. They didn't really tell me they were taking me to Madison. They just told me that they wanted to.
Mhm.
I wake up and I'm in Madison. I have not heard from my girlfriend in a couple days. I don't know where I'm at. I'm withdrawing off drugs. I can feel that right away. And I know that I'm not completely in my right mind at all, because right away I just like stood up out of bed and told the doctor that I'm leaving right now, and he was like, we got to take the PICC line out. So you can take it out if you want, but I'm leaving. They took it out and I just wandered down to the streets. And the reason I know that I wasn't in my right mind is because I would have organized a ride home from Madison. I would have figured that out, because I know that if I leave the hospital and I'm stranded up in Madison, then I'm just stranded in Madison. There's no drugs I can get up there. That's not going to benefit me in any way. But I didn't. I just wandered down into the streets, and by the time I realized what's going on, I have already left the hospital and I'm down there and I'm kind of piecing it together. I'm like, shit. So then I go to some business and make a phone call and call a ride back in Janesville, tell them I need to be picked up. Had a ride come and pick me up, take me back to Janesville. And before I left the hospital that day, the doctor said that we have your test results. He said, you can leave. We can't stop you from leaving. But if you do, you will not make it you won't make it 3 days. And I'm thinking I'm thinking this guy is using a scare tactic. He's
Right.
telling
You there.
Yeah. So I'm not believing it. I leave and I get some drugs. That was the whole reason I was leaving. Got some drugs and I could barely walk. I was struggling very much so. So any task wasn't easy. I went all the way down to Beloit with some friends at like 5 a.m, got some drugs, came back to town. And the whole time since I left the hospital, the couple days prior, me and my mom were texting and I was telling her like, yes, I'm going to go to the hospital. Told you guys I wanted to be in Janesville. So I'm coming back to Janesville, and pretty much tell my mom, once I get more drugs, then you can come pick me up and take me to the hospital. And my mom just want to get me hot. They just want me sober. So, they're listening to me when I'm telling them after I use heroin one more time, I'll go. I think they're hoping that I'm going to do that. They probably realize that trusting an addict when he's at the height of his addiction isn't always the best thing, but, wishful thinking, they were hoping I was going to do that. So I remember I got the drugs, went back to the house, and as I'm walking up inside, I called my mom, or I texted my mom and told her that I'm pretty sure I'm dying right now. The doctor gave me 3 days to live, and I'm pretty sure I'm dying right now. I was like, I need you to come pick me up. I gave her the address, and I told her I had to go right away. And she texted me back, and she's like, Michael, I'm in the middle of shopping. I have a cart full of stuff. And in the time for me to send that message and her to text me back, I had gotten my drugs ready and used IV drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, let me back up. Actually, I went up into the house. I was getting the drugs ready. My breathing was so bad, I passed out before I got to use the drugs. So I sat down on the bed and like laid back, and that put me out. So I passed out. Then I wake up sometime later to my phone ringing, and I look down, it's my mom, and I answer it. She's like, Michael, I am outside some trap house waiting for you. Are you coming out or not? I'm about to leave. And I'm like, yes, I'm coming right now. But I'm also not about to waste these drugs that I just, I'm walking around half dead. I just went all the way down to Beloit for these. I'm not going to waste them. That's my mindset as a drug addict. So with my mom, I'm so sorry. With my mom and with my mom in the parking lot waiting for me. With my mom in the parking lot waiting for me. Sorry, Mike Sheridan's calling me.
It's okay.
I'm in the parking lot waiting for my mom. I load up the drugs that I'm going to do. before she's taking me to the hospital, and I do them. I go down into the car. My mom picks me up and she's taking me to the hospital, and she can tell that I'm under the influence. And I told her, yeah, but I told her that now that I think I'm ready, I told her that all this stuff has happened, that I'm literally on my deathbed, almost dying.
Mhm.
That that I knew that if I got rid of those drugs, that I was still gonna be I was still gonna be thinking about drugs. That they were still gonna be in my mind. I went all the way down there and I didn't get to use them. That wouldn't have, for me, that wouldn't have been all right. So I knew that I needed to get rid of these drugs in my drug addict mind. So that's what I do. I use the drugs, get rid of them. She's taking me to the hospital, and I tell her that I'm ready now. You know, all this time my girlfriend is still out there hanging out with her girlfriends because we got in a fight.
Mhm.
So then they take me into the emergency room. I tell the doctor what's going on, tell him that now I'm ready, and he's like, "Sounds good, let's do it." So they put me in a hospital room. Told me I had Pseudomonas, I had MRSA, I had septic emboli,
Mhm.
I had endocarditis, and pulmonary embolism. They told me I had to stay there for 3 months or for 48 days. And at first it was hard for me, but obviously I got used to it. I stayed the whole 48 days. And then I got out, and I felt like a new person. I hadn't used drugs in 48 days.
Right.
I was once seeing my world as fucked up as I'm at the end of my road. I'm gonna die a heroin addict, or I'm gonna be a old heroin addict. I did not see much for my future. So now I felt sober. My brother and different people in my family had told me, when you get sober, you won't hate life. You won't wanna not wake up every day. You'll enjoy stuff, and I didn't believe it. I thought, how cliche, I wake up and hate every minute of my life besides when I'm putting a needle in my arm. That's the only thing that I want. People would say to me, you can have drugs or alcohol, or you can have everything else. I did not want everything else. All I wanted was drugs. I was completely fine with shooting up heroin. That was what I wanted, because when you do the drug, it changes what you want out of life to that's the only thing you want out of life. So, I'm out of the hospital now. My parents are keeping close watch on me. They don't want me hanging out with any people from my past, pretty much. But I need to share my newfound knowledge. I need to go tell my girlfriend that you need to get sober now, because we can do it. We're not screwed for life. There's still hope for us. So I go over there, talking to her, telling her that I have 48 days sober and we can do this, and telling her to not give up, and that we talked about giving up, but to not do it, that you just got to make it past the first couple days, then you can get on some medication assisted treatment, and it's not too hard. It's pretty hard, but I was trying to make her feel hopeful, telling her it's not hard at all. Let's do this together. We both were bawling. It was pretty emotional. She was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it together. So then I left. Time was going on. I was still hearing stories about her kind of using. And I knew they were true, just because I could tell that she wasn't. I could tell that when I would text her, there was something else keeping her attention,
Mhm.
and she was in love with me. So I know that other thing keeping her attention wasn't somebody else. I know it was the drugs.
Right.
We met up. We met up. I think one more time, maybe two more times. No, I only saw her twice when I got to the hospital. So then I met up with her another time and was telling her, yeah, just that she can do it, stuff like that. Then I leave, and then a couple days later, I get woken up at like 9 a.m. from my recovery coach, and he tells me that my girlfriend's gone. And I don't really process what he's telling me, but he's just told me that the time has come,
Yeah.
that she passed away and they found her.
Oh my
And
gosh.
right, and it's like 9 a.m. So I wake up and I sit up and I'm like, all right, sounds good. And I get off the phone and I remember I sat there in my bed for like 2 hours, thinking about it. Did a couple things on my phone. Just, I didn't cry, I just sat there. And then I walked upstairs after those 2 hours and went to tell my dad. And even, I couldn't even say it out loud
Yeah.
before I just busted out crying. Super hard for me.
Yeah.
And it has been super hard for me. She was the only person who was there for me, I feel like. I feel like there was certain people in my life there's people in my life now who are in my life because I'm sober. She was in my life no matter what. She loved me
Yeah.
no matter what. That's what made her special to me. But now on the 22nd of this month, I will have 1 year sober. Things have been going pretty good. I got into drug court. I ended up getting a couple felony charges, and I think I had 2 felonies and 15 misdemeanors. They wrapped most of that up into a deal for drug court where I go for 14 months, do that, and months of probation, and then I will get to cop for 1 misdemeanor, I think, in exchange for all that stuff.
Okay.
Drug court has been helping me. It's a good structure for anyone. Yeah, been sober for almost a year now, like I said.
Congratulations.
Just look.
That's a huge accomplishment. And I'm really sorry to hear about the loss of your girlfriend. I can't imagine
Thank you very much.
how hard that was.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you sharing your story with me. I can't imagine this is super easy to talk about. And I was curious what words you'd like to share with people who are maybe struggling with their sobriety or just kind of beginning their journey towards recovery.
Yeah. I'd like to say don't give up hope. That's the worst thing you can do, because the minute you give up, the battle's done. You have to keep fighting. And the other thing people say that is kind of cliche, the grass is always greener, but once you get to the other side, you will realize how easy it is. The whole time people are telling you how easy it is, and you're standing in front of it like this is not an easy task, and it's not. But once you get to that other side and you are clean and sober and you don't have the drugs in your mind clouding your thoughts, you realize that it was a simple path. It just took a while to get there. And there's a lot of resources out there. If anybody needs any help anytime, there's physical meetings every day, like probably 3 a day every day. There's meetings on Zoom all over. There's meetings on the dopination.com. That's a pretty good resource. They have meetings all day. And get a sponsor or a recovery coach. Sponsor is a little more intensive. They go over steps with you. Recovery coach is what worked for me. Somebody who will sit there, you can review all your options to them and they'll tell you what they think is the best option. Structure is good for anybody. And I think that if somebody wants to hold themselves accountable, then they're going to tell themselves. They're going to tell tell somebody, hey, I need help. I need somebody to hold me accountable because I can't hold myself accountable. And I feel like once people start telling other people that, that is when they really want help. When you keep trying to keep stuff from people, when you keep wanting to mess around, when you keep wanting to use stimulants but not heroin, it's not going to work like that. You have to get off of the stimulants and the heroin. Um, yeah, it just doesn't work. You can't do one drug and not do another. You kind of got to get off all of the drugs. Medication assisted treatment, very helpful.
Mhm.
Some people say you're not sober if you're on medication that's in the treatment. I don't think so at all. It helps people go from a really destructive lifestyle to a manageable lifestyle. And it definitely saved my life.
Do you have any specific hopes or goals for the future?
Um, no, not really. I'm happy right now. I'm happy in my life. And, that's all I want from life is to be happy.
Yeah.
So I don't really have any other specific goals except for me to be happy.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me and share your story with the Wisconsin Voices for Recovery.